The ambassador of Israel to the United Kingdom is with me on the programme again this morning. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us on the programme. Why has the ground invasion into Gaza been delayed?
Well, it's very clear. Israel wants to make sure to minimise civilian casualties. So we gave the Palestinians enough time to go to the south area of Gaza. And we mustn't forget, Israel has 223 hostages, innocent people, including babies. You interviewed this week Ofri, that has two of her nephews in Gaza. She doesn't know if little Kfir gets his formula. She doesn't know if her nephew gets food. The Red Cross was not allowed to get into Gaza since the war started, since Hamas started this attack. So this is part of Israel's demand. Release our hostages. Don't forget about the fact innocent people being held hostage by Hamas as we speak.
Has the US asked for a delay until it can move some of its assets into the region?
I think there is a very close coordination with the US administration, but Israel does everything to make sure that we clarify this war is about dismantling Hamas capabilities. And a war, it's a long process, as you know. This is not just, one day and it's over. So the attack was brutal. 1,400 Israelis were butchered and slaughtered. And this is our time to make sure Hamas won't exist on our border. So this is going to be complicated. And just one more thing. One of the complexities is the fact that Hamas used all the humanitarian aid that walked into Gaza in the last few years to build this underground tunnel city. Every tunnel cost $3 million. Altogether, Israel exposed over 30 tunnels. We're talking about $100 million could have been supplied to humanitarian aid to the Gaza people. But no, Hamas created this war machine, this horrific underground metro.
Okay.
And this is what he's using and abusing the international support.
So just to clarify, you are waiting until the USS Dwight Eisenhower and other assets arrive in the region, because that's what the Americans
First
have
of all,
asked you to do.
last night we had Israeli troops and tanks getting into Gaza.
It was an incursion. Was that the start of the ground war?
As I'm saying, the war has a clear goal to dismantle Hamas capabilities, and we will make sure to keep our hostages safe as much as we want to make sure that we minimize civilian casualties.
Okay. The UN Secretary-General has clarified his comments. Are you content with his clarification, or do you still want him to step down?
I would say the world number one diplomat should have known better when he said what he said. So even though he clarified, I must say that he forgot what the UN stands for. The UN was established after the Second World War, after the atrocities of the Holocaust. That was the main aim of this building in New York, to make sure those atrocities won't be repeated. When you have such a clear case of evil and good, when you have such a clear case of democracy fighting against those evil terrorists, he should have known better. Saying it was created not in a vacuum, has a blame in it, has the very sick idea that babies that were killed, people that were beheaded, they're blamed for those atrocities that Hamas committed. So it's like blaming the Jews for the Nazis' atrocities. This is why I think he should have apologized and he should have clarified his words, because words in diplomacy, as I know as a diplomat myself, has really serious consequences.
Madam Ambassador, he did clarify. When he spoke, he had a short news conference yesterday after the words the night before, and he said, "I spoke of the grievances of the Palestinian people, and in doing so, I also clearly stated, and I quote, but the grievances of the Palestinian people cannot justify the appalling attacks by Hamas."
It's not good enough. I think that...
You're still calling for his resignation?
I think the most important thing, he needs to know that during a war, the UN has a role. And if he's going to be biased on that, and unfortunately, this is the same UN that located Iran on the Human Rights Council, the same Iran that was, firing and shooting innocent women in the streets of Tehran, and the same Iran that was backing up this massacre that took place in Israel just 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
So this is something that the UN here is missing, and they need to look into their behavior, because this is a clear-cut case of evil that needs to be destroyed, and they need to support a democratic state's right to self-defense.
Last time you were on the show, you said that there wasn't a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Did you misspeak when you said that?
So I made clarification of my own words, and it's Hamas should be blamed for anything that happens in Gaza.
But Israel, is there a humanitarian crisis in Gaza?
as Oliver Dowden said, there is a serious condition in Gaza.
Does that amount to a humanitarian crisis?
No. There is. If I would say there is humanitarian crisis, I blame Hamas for it, because Israel allows medicine, food, water into the Gaza Strip. And as we speak, there was an IDF satellite image that shows a storage of fuel held by Hamas, and they're not giving or delivering anything to civilian facilities. They only use it for their war machine. So actually, if you want to think what Hamas has been doing the last few weeks, what have we seen? We've seen he's stealing 24,000 liters of fuel from UNRWA facilities. He's abusing every international support to use it for his own war aims. And he doesn't care, and he couldn't care less about the population in Gaza. And he's using the people in Gaza as human shields. And this is why I would like the world to join me and to say every civilian loss in Gaza, Hamas should be blamed for it. And if you have questions about humanitarian crisis, please ask Hamas.
Whoever's to blame doesn't mean that it isn't a humanitarian crisis.
But who needs to be blamed, Kay? That's the biggest question.
I'm not asking who's to blame. I'm asking you whether it's a humanitarian crisis.
You should, because the thing is, you need to know how to solve it.
When I speak to Hamas, when I speak to your opposite numbers, then I put those questions
but you need to
them
remember,
as well. Oxfam saying
when Hamas need to be blamed, when Hamas will be removed, the Gaza Strip future will be better.
Oxfam says Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war.
This is absolutely ridiculous. We bring food to the Gaza Strip. Everyone's seen the trucks that are getting from the Rafah cross to Gaza. The people of Gaza get supplies from the international community. We have no interest in hurting innocent people. Our only target is Hamas facilities. Excuse me?
You are bombing them.
Oh, really? So let me tell you something. The Royal Air Force in 1945 was trying to bomb a Gestapo headquarters, and he ended up bombing 86 innocent then children in 1945. Was the Royal Air Force in charge of killing innocent children? De facto, yes, but their aim was the Gestapo.
You accept that you are bombing innocent people?
What I'm trying to say, we're not bombing civilians. We are bombing military targets. According to the Geneva Convention, we have absolutely right to do that. When those terrorists are embedded into civilians, unfortunately, they are turning civilian facilities into military targets. And what I'm trying to say, if the Royal Air Force in 1945 was targeting the Gestapo headquarters, and he ended up killing innocent children, it wasn't the aim of the Royal Air Force to kill these innocent children, but this is part of a war. And we need to remember, Hamas was targeting our children, but we're not targeting any civilians. We're targeting only military targets.
Earlier on in the week, we covered a news conference from the Israeli Defense Force, and a former top Israeli commander, Major General Mikey Edelstein, you may know him, spoke at the news conference. And he says that there was evidence with the Hamas massacre on the 7th of October. That's what we're calling it. That's what it was, a massacre. There was evidence of Iranian involvement.
It's true.
Tell me.
So, as you know, Iran, first of all, 90% of Hamas budget is coming from Iranian sources. So they're fueling the Hamas machine. The training of Hamas is also
Just tell me about the evidence
from
the 7th of October.
So, look, I'm not coming here to share intelligence in the studio, but I want to say Iran, and this is the IDF officials and our censor that will make sure what are the intelligence information we want to share during the war, what's not. But it's clear that Iran is proud of the fact that Hamas committed those crimes. Iran is proud of those war crimes that Hamas committed. Iran is praising these people for committing those atrocities. So what's the question? What was left to ask?
So you say there is evidence that they were directly involved, but you just can't tell me what it is.
Yes, and Tehran was backing up this military operation, and Tehran is backing up Hamas as its proxy by sponsoring the organization.